Hey everybody. So I recently made a video about the Mamdani and Trump meeting and about how the populism and the progressivism, right-wing populism, left-wing progressivism are undermining the centrist, neoconservative, neoliberal consensus. And I realize that that language is a little bit political sciencey, so I'll try to remember that in future videos. However, I also wanted to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning, and I want to do it briefly because I know we all have Saturday fun ahead of us. I see it as her being a casualty of a party machine that is operated in a way that, unfortunately, the normies, quote unquote, or the mainstream storytelling elite at mainstream news outlets and donor funded Substacks and all those types of affairs kind of refuse to admit that the Republican Party ran that way for a long time. However, maybe because they were products of it or they once believed in it, but I get it. Life is crazy. History's full of twists of fate. So I'm not trying to implicate or blame anybody, but I do just want to talk about how this is a moment where we see that Marjorie Taylor Greene was the avatar of a populist firebrand that the GOP needed at a time when they were trying to court the reactionary forces that came after electing the first black president. And those reactionary forces came in the form of Marjorie Taylor Greene, who unabashedly would say offensive and very divisive things about people and about, quote unquote, anti white racism and Jewish space lasers. And she started to turn at the end because I think she realized that she was a cog in a machine that she didn't really fully understand. And so she started to support the effort to call attention to the awful activities going on in Palestine. And she wanted to call attention to the wealth inequality and the skyrocketing healthcare costs that would affect her people. And it just is an example of how the GOP machine has historically, especially in modern American times, has kind of fed the white working class, mainly working class generally, but predominantly the white working class, the red meat of racial reactionary politics, masculine reactionary politics, homophobia, Islamophobia, anti Semitism. And what it does in return is it then takes their money by passing plutocratic meaning government ran by the wealthy. It passes policies that are not good for working people and that actually cut their access to social safety, make their prices for maybe not cheap goods coming from China, but things that are really quality of life issues like healthcare and housing and education. It makes those costs rise. And what it does is it funnels what used to be a budding large middle class, thanks to the policy implementations that came out of the New Deal and New Frontier and Gray Society eras. It actually dismantles those by demagoguing that wealth and benefits are going to otherized communities, and so we need to get rid of that, and maybe you'll be rich one day and then you can become a millionaire or billionaire and benefit from the tax cuts that we're passing. But that is statistically not going to happen. You are statistically going to not make it that status, especially when you come from a world that has been rigged to keep people in one place and people in other places. So I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene just realized that she was a stage prop, and what the machine did was it pushed her off stage when she was beginning to speak out in ways that were seen unstable to the brand, to the Trump brand. And so, what's so fascinating about MTG is that her exit isn't just the drama; it's the symbolism of collapse under the weight of your own party's design. She was really never meant to last. The GOP isn't built for continuity or development; it's built for combustion, and it needs disposable icons who can rally the base but never compete with the brand, which right now is Trump. And then you bring in this gendered layer, and it gets so much messier because MTG is allowed to go full QAnon cosplay as long as she didn't challenge male authority. But the moment she becomes more than a background screamer is when she wanted to shape power and not just echo it and potentially run for Senate. The machine turned on her like a malfunctioning animatronic, swinging wildly at the cast members. And I use that because I think of the Disney Hall of Presidents and just Disney's animatronics and how politics these days have just become so performative. It's really like a really messed up Five Nights at Freddy's display when you just like me had to watch media and analyze cable news and their appearances and talking points. It's a mess. But this is a brutal example of how right wing populism exploits working class energy only to discipline it when it veers off message. And and Marjorie Taylor Greene was a vessel for resentment, but it was a chaotic avatar of for rural voters who could identify with until she became a liability, and her goal shifted from rage to discipline about the conviction she thought she was standing behind in terms of helping working people who are constantly survivors of a system that is built for wealthy people and not for working people. This is again just another example of how the GOP's worked, but it's not just worked this way since Trump. It's worked this way for generations at this point, and Trump is just the natural evolution of a GOP that implemented Southern strategy, and a GOP that pushed reactionary politics with the smile of a Hollywood movie star president, and a GOP that wanted to rebrand as compassionate even while demonizing gay marriage and immigrants, and funding a Potemkin news channel that does nothing but put cameras at the border and tell a lot of traditional Americans that these foreigners are coming to take their homes and take what they work so hard for. So the GOP is going through another evolution, or we're just seeing the machine act in a way it always has. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. Subscribe. Stu on This is here to analyze the past and also try to make sense of the present. And most importantly, have a great Saturday. I'm going to go see Wicked later. I hope you all go see it at some point too. And just remember to like and subscribe. All the best.